What's up, everybody? Cinephile Mike here. Today, I am joined by director Lyle Lindgren and the legendary famous Eddie Plein to discuss the new documentary Mouth Full of Gold, which is having its world premiere at the Tribeca Festival. This film tells the story of famous Eddie Plein, who you're seeing right here, the pioneer behind Gold Grillz culture, tracing how a Brooklyn entrepreneur helped shape the visual identity of hip hop and influenced fashion, music, and street culture around the world. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today, and congrats on the premiere.
Thank you.
Nice one.
Thank you much.
Very,
So,
very.
given that you're premiering at Tribeca, which feels so fitting because this is a story connected to New York culture and hip hop history, what does it mean to both of you to finally share a mouthful of gold with audiences in this environment?
Well, we started this film 10 years ago, so it's crazy that we kind of have got to the finish line, um, and it kind of took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get it to this point. So I think for me, it's really surreal, but I think it's so fitting for it to be at Tribeca. But it's been a dream project to work on. What about yourself, Eddie?
Me? Oh man, it's an honor. Never thought we'd go there. I mean, it was just something that we did, way back. And yeah, like I said, it was something like a fad. It became surreal. It's going wild all over the world, and you taking it to this point now. I mean, maybe at some point I was gonna get to it, but you was at the right place at the right time,
Yeah,
and yeah, it made it happen. I'm grateful for that.
nice. It's an honor to tell your story.
So you started the film, you said 10 years ago, and you've also both co-wrote the book, the original text, Mouthful of
Right.
Goals, which has had several re-releases and publications.
Yes.
So how did, as the idea for the film came first and then the book and then getting back into the film, what made you realize within the book that you wanted this to really still be experienced cinematically rather than just on the pages?
Well, when we started 10 years ago, there was like a big period of, you're trying to develop a concept, you're making like a sizzle reel and a deck. And so we had all those kind of materials and, we're taking them around different production companies, and it kind of never quite stuck. I think people didn't really understand the concepts because you really have to be in the culture to understand it. And so really the book came about because of COVID. We'd had to stop production. We had all this material. We kind of wanted to do something with it. It was very much the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen. And so we worked on it remotely, myself in the UK, Eddie in New York. And to be honest with you, if we hadn't done the book, I don't think the film ever would have got made. I always look at the book like it's the most self-indulgent treatment you can make. It's like 220 pages, breaks down the whole narrative. But I don't think when we made the book, we ever thought we would get back to doing the film. It was just like a means to keep going. So it's taken a long time, but I think the book was like a really good tool to convince audiences, to convince investors that there really was a story here with a lot of weight and a lot of depth to it.
And speaking of that, I noticed one of the things that stood out to me as I was watching it was the decision to use dramatized recreations of certain moments throughout rather than just relying on the archival material in the interviews. So I'm curious, Lyle, for you, what inspired that stylistic choice? And Eddie, what was it like seeing those parts of your life recreated on screen by other actors?
Didn't know at first that we were doing that. We were going over all the archive, but after the book, and it was during the COVID period, so we had to do something. Lyle came up with the idea for the book, which was good. We had everything for it. But after COVID, we restarted, and then he started coming up with the idea of reenactments. That was some of the best visuals I've seen. Like it looks like we were going back in time for sure.
And we tried to shoot a lot of these reenactments in a real location. So
Yeah.
where Eddie is now, he's in the family home where this all started, but we used the kitchen where he waxed up those first teeth. We used the basement where they actually had, the disco, their first entrepreneurial moment as kids. You know, we shot every nook and cranny we could shoot of a space that someone like Eddie or his brother Lando gave us. We worked like all the angles. And to be honest with you, the dramatic reconstruction side came from just as a filmmaker. I was doing a lot of music videos that were really narrative heavy. So I'd done stuff with like Stephen Graham, who's from Adolescence and This Is England. So I always had this cinematic kind of sensibility to my work. And then what I would find is when I would talk to Eddie, Lando, Goldie, and they tell you these anecdotes that are just unreal, you can't help but see them, you know, run in your mind in a cinematic way, because the stories were just so bold and too kind of good to be true. So when we were making it, we shot all the interviews first that we could, and we built like the spine of the story, and we figured out the kind of narrative that way. And then we knew we had archive, like Eddie had these amazing DVD series that he'd shot in Atlanta that just kind of covered the culture in a shot, had his incredible family photo archive that we'd use for the book. So there was all these assets, but what we would find is there would be, you know, there is no kind of archive video of Eddie waxing up those first teeth. So there was clear scenes that was like, we got to make this into a drama. We got to recreate this. And for me personally, I've loved it when we've shot at your house. And I'm obviously working as a director, but I love looking around and watching yourself watch it and be like, oh my God, it's like a time machine. Like when we shot the disco in the basement, I think that was a real highlight, because it's like,
that was super.
It was like taking you back there. So
Yes.
yeah, they were good fun to do. And even the interviews, we chose to shoot everything anamorphic deliberately to have this cinematic sensibility, because I think as well, people don't tell these stories in a super cinematic way, and this deserved to be really embellished and made as cinematic as possible.
And now that it's out there in the ether, or about to be out there in the ether, Eddie, I'm curious, watching the film now, how do you process the fact that something you helped pioneer becomes such a massive global part of music and fashion culture?
Oh man. I mean, I got to go way back to where it started, and then it taken off the way it did. I mean, at one point, before everybody jumped on it, I think I probably could have been like I kind of was the only one in like a public figure. I mean, except for all the dentists are able to do that kind of work. I was the only one outside of that that's really done that. Like I could count on one hand. Like who else kind of was doing this? There wasn't anyone. So I was like in a place where I was kind of like the only one for a long time, until, not, I wouldn't say for a long time, because they jumped on the bandwagon real quick, because of, I mean, they could not believe what this was. Like, this guy got a line of people. What is he doing? Oh, he's doing mouthpieces. He's doing fronts. He's doing gold teeth. It was like, I think whenever somebody came around or snuck around and see what was going on, their antennas was going up, especially the jewelers. They're like, we got to add this to our our routine also. Yeah, we make gold teeth too, even though they didn't know how to even start it off. I mean, it was criminal how they started off. They're like, you know what? They didn't. They actually guessed. I still remember the first days of that. They actually guessed what people kind of like what their size of teeth were, and they had like a whole bucket, not a bucket, but a cup of a bunch of gold teeth. I think they kind of pre-did him, and they're like, you know what we're gonna do when somebody comes and say they want gold teeth, we're gonna like fit this one, see if it kind of gets close. If not, we'll try another one, and if we find something that gets close, we'll kind of work it a little bit and make it go. So it was funny how
Eddie,
they started off.
do you think it's surreal that this is now in Tokyo, in Paris, and it started from your basement?
Yeah. I mean, I remember still being in Atlanta, and guys from Paris didn't know where they came from. I mean, Don't know how they knew about it or anything, but they came from Paris to Atlanta, to our Atlanta shop, and they were telling us, yeah, you know, this and that. We from Paris. But me, myself, I always kept whatever kind of like, you know, I wouldn't let my head get big or anything. I was on the job right there. So, but me not thinking, but since New York, with Just Ice getting his gold teeth and then seeing his clips all around the world, I don't know where they were seeing it. But I know if you were in Manhattan, New York, you would see like a whole wall full of Just Ice. So I know it took me it you know, it went somewhere. There were tourists out there that probably taking pictures but I
Yeah,
never really let it get to my head.
yeah,
So I wasn't really thinking outside the box. I was just, you know, the moment somebody
crazy.
come to me, I know I had to treat them right.
Yeah,
So that was me. I wasn't really thinking outside at all. I just
yeah,
kind of knew that the guys that were in the Midwest, they were kind of like maybe frantic, like, oh, you know what? We need goals. We want goals, but where are we going to get the goals? We would have to go to New York maybe, but not all of us could go to New York. So everyone was thinking of how they could get some goals. So that's why I say the dentist, he benefited a lot because they probably went to the dentist and like, you know what? We want some gold teeth. And the dentist was like, you don't need to get gold teeth. And they were like, we want gold teeth. We'll pay you anything. I think that sounded good to the dentist. That's how like the guys in the Midwest started, you know, but they were really, I don't think they really knew about it. We were doing off and off yet. So they could see the whole row of teeth, and they probably went to the dentist and say, you know, we want like 6 or 8. The dentist like, you might have to file your teeth, and
yeah.
some would do it, but some were like, man, I don't want to file my teeth.
I think that's
So,
quite interesting because with them being removable, what I found when I worked on the project is you have certain cultures have permanent teeth. It's very prominent in the South, in Miami,
oh
but
yeah,
then for example, like my friend on my t-shirt here, he's from Tokyo, Japan, and you can't have a permanent gold tooth in Japan. It's not part of
okay,
the
you
culture.
can't.
No, and
Oh, so
so
the dentist won't do it.
no, it's kind of
Okay,
frowned. So the fact that they're removable, I think, probably made so many cultures around the world, in Paris and Tokyo and London, made it more accessible, made it
accessible. Yeah.
more available for people. But I would say, on a global level, one of the most enjoyable parts of shooting the film for me was doing all the Paris stuff. Like,
Mhm.
as like a big fan of French cinema, having the ability to have this element of the story that's in Paris and being able to go there and shoot in the suburbs and kind of recreate all your like Jacques Audiard like dreams, as it were, of being handheld in Paris was really good fun. But it was nice in the film to go on that arc and end up being able to show how global it had become.
Well, and it was interesting. So I read in the statement how you said you were first introduced to this when you got the Gravediggers album, Lyle,
Yeah,
that you saw, which also made me think. I was like, when was the first time I saw or remembered visually seeing
yeah,
Grillz culturally? And for me, and I don't know if I saw the film, but I remember all the movie posters for the 93 film CB4 with
Mm,
Chris Rock's big
93.
smile. Like, I remember
Okay.
seeing that and I was like, what are those? So it was fascinating to look at. And when we look at this film, because Lyle, you also edited it,
yeah.
how did your editing process help you shape the larger rhythm and evolution to make sure you captured so many years of history in this one concise medium?
I think writing a book was like a really good exercise for figuring out how the narrative
Exercise.
worked, the highs and lows. So there was bits that we would plot out. Like, there's a few stories that didn't make the film, which I would love to have put in there, but you obviously can't cover everything. So it's funny you mentioned about Chris Rock, because there was like an anecdote we didn't put in about David the jeweler made Lawrence Fishburne's King of New York gold fronts. He talked about Lawrence Fishburne coming to the shop, had molds taken, and he didn't know who Lawrence Fishburne was, but his assistant did. He'd seen him in Apocalypse Now. It's kind of shit, being like, oh my God, it's Lawrence Fishburne. So there was like a few bits we left out, but narratively, I think with the edit, because we'd done the book, it made it a lot easier, if that makes sense. So we'd kind of plot it out. But one interesting thing, when we cut the film, there's a lot of like technicality behind the culture, behind making Grillz. And we had a cut that was like really technical, and it felt like a little bit kind of stiff and stifled. And so I almost kind of went back to the beginning. And I'm going to give you your flowers now, Eddie. I think Eddie talks in such an interesting way. It's like a very New York way. There's a lot of slang, a lot of cool turns of phrase. And so we kind of did an edit where we forgot about the technicality and we just made it more fun. We wanted it to feel like, you know, King of New York, New Jack City, The Sopranos. So little things like Eddie would say when he worked for this pawn shop jeweler, Ralphie, you'd say like, we were successful for like a year and change. And it kind of just sounded good. And so we'd look for the colorful moments and then work them into the edit. But I'd say the hardest part would be the archive, like finding good archive that's not really been seen before was like something I was quite conscious of. I didn't want this to just feel like you're going to go and get bits from classic hip hop films that you might have seen before. So it was like quite a conscious decision to really look for rare archive. And we found a lot of rare stuff in like Miami archives, Atlanta archives, and you want to find like the perfect bit that quickly summarizes the point you're trying to make. So I'd say that was the hardest part. But yeah, narratively, it was nice because it was episodic. It was sort of chapters. It was quite laid out quite nicely.
I know I'm gonna have to let you both go in a moment. So I just want to ask, when audiences leave mouthful of gold, what's something that you each hope stays with them beyond just the history of Grillz themselves?
I really like an element of entrepreneurialism, which Eddie often talks about from his own dad. And I like the fact that your dad, the great Plein, was this really brave entrepreneur that left Paramaribo to come to New York when a lot of people, with it being a Dutch colony, went to Amsterdam. So what I'd like people to take away from it is to sort of dream big. And if there's an idea that you have, just go for it. Like, it has to start somewhere. And I think Eddie having his light bulb moment and then making this in the kitchen, and now it's, you know, on the runways in Paris, it goes to show you how far you can go if you dream big.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the idea really smacked me. And from then on, I was focused on it. I let some other things to the wayside because that's what I was going to do. That's what I wanted to do. And I went after it, and it worked out exactly the way I was thinking. I mean, even the stops with Ralphie, when the Ralphie thing came to an end, it was like, you know, what's next? I made sure I took a good break, went overseas, went to Holland, pondered the idea for a moment. I still wanted to I really did have a tryout with one of the middle teams. They was like, "Oh yeah, you fine, but you really need some serious conditioning." And then I think I thought about it for 2 days, and I was like, "No, I'm gonna go back to New York. I'm gonna go to the Coliseum this time, and that's where I'm gonna start off the next chapter." And it worked out exactly as.
To me, you're the Pele of Grillz, which I think people should take away.
And thank you. Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Well, Lyle, Eddie, thank you both so much for taking the time to chat with me today. The
Thank
Mouthful of Gold, it's more than just a look at, you know, the Grillz, but like you said, entrepreneurship, the innovation, the legacy. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing to see. Again, the film is having its premiere at the Tribeca Festival. We'll include links in the description below for screening information on the film, how you can get tickets. For everyone watching, if you enjoyed this conversation, please remember to like the video, comment, subscribe. You get more filmmaker interviews, festival coverage, and spoiler-free reviews. As always, this is Cinephile Mike reminding you to take a break and watch something new. Gentlemen, have an excellent day.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.